Panel, then breakouts. Oscar, James, Blue, and NJ. Come on up.
I have some manufacturing. It's here. Of course, they spoke out too.
All right, let's don't run away. Last panel. Oscar, where are you? I got you.
Good.
All right. Very soon you're going to have a glass of wine in your hand. Last panel. Barbara Cara.
Or a mocktail. Or a
mocktail. Whatever it is. Drink and sit. Yeah. Whatever. Glass of something. Listen up. Drink and sit. Glass of something.
Oh, are we?
Please, can I get your attention? Everyone, last panel. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to you, Oscar, but, we talked about impact. Justin, we talked about impact. People got different views on it, whether the world went too far on one side, categorizing everything. We can at least agree on lots of things, and that we all are investing in, well, not we all, but some of us are, most of us are probably investing in some philanthropy of some kind. Whether you then have a shade of gray and move into an investment that you make for that same reason. Look, we all do our own thing, but what we want to do is help our communities and help solve some of these problems. So many of these people here are doing those things, and Michael went earlier today, and Anna. Barbara, sorry. Michael was talking about how they invest in philanthropy, or they collaborate on cross philanthropy. That's sort of what this does. We've been doing this for every event that we've had, every conference, and now we're recording them to learn together. So with that, Oscar, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Perfect.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Oscar Pais. I'm a third-generation agri-industrial business. In Colombia, and now we're not in the cooking business. So we grew up doing potatoes, pears, and some other stuff. And I'm a second-generation family business member from a feed manufacturing and egg production company. So since we had a lot of drama and stuff within our family, I ended up taking a lot of therapy, so on and so forth. Now I do consulting for family business and family offices all over the world. Thank you for the invitation. I'm a board member with Fred Sasser at the FBN USA. We're like a YPO for family businesses. And we have presences in over 63 countries. 65. But as well, I chair the Impact Committee for LBN USA, where we gather with people from all over the world to tackle ideas from their family offices and their family firms to talk about impact. And a lot of the things that I do is conflict resolution within these topics right here. Next generation, which is succession planning. Philanthropy, which I bring it under impact. So we talk about from FBN perspective, philanthropic efforts, advocacy, sustainable investments, and good business practices, and that's a little bit of what I talk about. I myself, I have a 11-year-old neurodiverse kid, and that's one of the reasons I'm very involved with the SCUA Therapeutic Institute, and among other things. But I'm gonna invite my panelists to introduce themselves, and I think each one of them kind of represent this thing that we talked about. Please, Luke.
Okay, thank you. It's really great to be here. So my name is Blue Blixley, and I am the Senior Advisor for Emerging Markets and Philanthropy Partners, and I'm at Save the Children, which is an international organization. So I've been in the field for 35 years. I'm a returnee to the international side after spending 7 years with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And part of my drawback was because I knew that there was going to be a lot of things that we had to lean into for kids coming out of the pandemic. The thing that I spent a lot of time on, and I would say it's a newer conversation for the nonprofit sector, but it's really looking at what's happening in our sector, what's changing, what kind of new conversations do we need to be aware of, do we need to be ready for, in order to create impact. So at Save the Children, for example, we have a social impact fund. I spend a lot of time looking at new technology, AI, crypto, the web space, for purpose. So we need to be able to carry the conversation in order to help others make impact.
Hi everybody, my name is James Nazarov and based out in Brooklyn, in New York. And I invest alongside my father and my sister into crypto, into fine art. We collect a lot of art, we love art. We focus on artists that are emerging under the radar. They haven't yet had their gallery shows, they're not known by the market at large, and we try to build relationships with them and guide them in their early careers. And I'm currently in the trenches, investing into meme coins and having a lot of fun. That's not sleeping very much. I rarely leave the house without my gemstones, so I'm that guy.
My name is MJ Gottlieb, co-founder and CEO of Lucid App. We're in the sobriety and addiction space. We have an app that has, last week, passed 300,000 members. As most of you know, everybody in this room, every single person in this room at some point will be affected by addiction at some point, whether it's a family member, a friend, yourself. I'm in recovery since March 21st, 2012. My business partner, who I started this with, her whole family's been wiped out by opioid addiction, right? And so we wanted to create connection with people who were struggling. And it's something that's very personal to us, but it's something that, people talk about total addressable market and all this stuff, and very sadly, from a double bottom line standpoint, it's a massive market because more people are dying than ever before because of fentanyl. And so that's what I do, and I'll give it up.
And you've been a long time. When we first got started, I've seen you grow. And proud of all the things you've done.
Thank you, Mark.
So often with impact, we talk about purpose, and I think earlier on we were talking about purpose. And within the next generation, in the family enterprise, even within the family office alignment, we use purpose and values to align the older generation with the newer generation, and sometimes the once upon next generation with the newer generation, right? Tell us a little bit of why did you guys get involved with this? You started sharing a little bit about it, but please kind of go on. What was the purpose and what's your individual purpose?
Well, this is a real story.
Yeah, so I was once hopeless, right? Before I entered recovery. The reason why we started this is I was actually advising my now business partner on acquisitions of treatment centers, brick and mortar acquisitions. She had exited to private equity and her whole family had been wiped out by opiate addiction. And as we were looking, at the statistics of the people who are struggling, 300 million people suffering from alcohol use disorder worldwide, 38% of adult Americans suffering from some substance abuse, and that's reported, so the number's much higher, and that's a 2017 statistic. So if there's over 500 million people in aggregate that are suffering, how is opening one location, forget about the fact that it was a $5 million check, but how is one location, maybe we'd be able to reach 1,000 people a year, but if there's 500 million people suffering, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And so we created Lucid Sober Social Network. We grew it, and as Mark said, it was rough. It was rough. I come from the brick and mortar world and entering the tech world and trying to bring people together. The opposite of addiction is connection. There's a saying, those amongst us, no explanation is necessary. Those not amongst us, no explanation is possible. And as soon as you get two people who share that common bond, it's like, oh wow, you did it, I can do it too. And so we created Lucid Sober Social Network. Then we saw my friends dying from people dating on the person from the other side of the table saying, just have one drink, why don't you just have one drink? And then my friends would go and say, I'll just have one drink, and then I'm at their funeral. So we started Lucid Sober Dating, now has 160,000 members. We started that last year. And so what we're trying to do is, addiction is not a political issue. None of this is. It's a human issue. It's going to be around a while. It's never going to go away. And so how can we create solutions to show people how to live a sober life? How not to just get sober, but stay sober and have an unbelievable life. Because if we do that, nobody's going to get sober. So that was really the genesis behind why we're doing what we're doing.
Thank you. So, my father comes to this country, and he's an artist, not just an investor, an entrepreneur. He comes here, he wants to follow his passion and create art. He's finding problems. He can't support his family with it. And he's being told, don't focus on the art, just go, you have mouths to feed, you have to work. And I know what Brian said, my father's the type of person that was, it's not easy for him to work under someone. So he realizes quickly he has to start to invest in himself, find partners, start businesses, and then pursue his passion. And that is a beautiful, lucky story. He was able to do that. He was able to gather the resources he needed to fulfill his purpose in life. And I often feel that my purpose is to now take that knowledge and that experience and to allow a next generation of artists to do that, to get the support that they need, to use not just financial resources, but all the knowledge that we have in the industry and how they should be building their careers. So I hate to think of all of the great art that humanity has been robbed of because wonderful artists are asking me if I want super salad. So if I have the chance to help them and guide them and build with them, I'm very grateful for that. So.
I love this question because I haven't actually been asked this many times, but in reflection, the answer of why I've been 35 years in this field really comes from family. So, and sometimes I forget, I actually come from an entrepreneurial family, so 3 generations, a lot of talk, but through all of that, it was a conversation of and what, and for what. So that's sort of the essence of, my growing up years. And then both, from my grandparents to my parents, it was always, and how will we step into impact? How are we going to participate from a philanthropic perspective and so forth? So that was always sort of like, part of my growing up. And then also, I think things happen for a reason. So as a young person, I actually had a chance to travel the world and to volunteer and to be in different communities. And what I saw was that you really needed people to step up. So that created a journey where at one point a mentor said, what would it look like if you married your skill set? So, I was on my way to law school with a purpose. What would that look like? And that began my journey. So I feel like you need a lot of people to say, how can I take what my skills are and help the world? And so that's, I would say that's the origin.
Right, keep the mic, so I'll go back to you. But I'll share with you guys, I got into family business advising, also seeing the impact that families and family offices are able to provide by better managing those either assets, resources, and actually going into the communities, countries where they work from. So going to that, in your perspective from the philanthropic, how are you partnering with family offices? What are you seeing? What are the trends emerging? and how can they become a better partner for your organization?
Yeah, I think, so the nonprofit sector, this is a new conversation for us. And the reason that we want to be in community, the reason that we want to show up is because we want to help impact. There's so much going on in the world. If we are speaking different languages, then the capacity to have impact is not the same. So that's why there is an investment, from our organization. I helped that conversation at St. Jude, same thing. Once we understand where there's alignment and what we can do to be of service, then that's where I think the magic sort of happens. So that's the reason why, for example, we are in the social impact space. We have been for 5 years. Why? Because we know that in order to get to the 2030 SDG goals, we also have to think differently. It's a reason why in 2013, we started accepting cryptocurrency. Why? Because we knew we had philanthropists who were coming to us and saying, okay, we have this asset, can you do anything with it? And we had, at the time we had a hurricane happening. So we had to figure out, where do we find common ground? And on and on, so, yeah.
James, how does your passion for art intersect that role as being an investor, philanthropist? Where do you see it, and also how do you partner with other organizations?
It intersects perfectly. Like, very, very lucky that the purpose, what I want to do with the rest of my life aligns with that, because I could find artists early on, identify them, and not just invest into the greatest asset class in existence today. That's what we believe art is, but also support storytellers, people who are going to catalog our history and basically keep humanity's story going. So I try to, in terms of partnering with others, I talk about art collecting all the time, everywhere that I go. I'm passionate about it. I love it, and I'm always trying to convert people to start to just make their first purchase, because there's a lot of miscommunication in the industry. People don't know where to start. And among family offices, generally, wealth is and liquidity. You're already buying your Picassos at $5 million and $10 million, and the next Picasso is your neighbor. It's in your neighborhood, and you can buy that for $1,000, and you can actually build the next Picasso, and that's what really excites me.
Thank you. MJ, you've been an entrepreneur, you've shared your story, and you're trying to generate impact, right? You talk about the double bottom line or the triple bottom line when we talk about B Corps. Trying to gather capital. Tell me a little bit about the interaction with family offices, with family businesses, and how to do it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the bottom line, a lot of people say the bottom line and the double bottom line are mutually exclusive, right? And I believe that's 1,000% incorrect. I believe it's the double bottom line that can increase shareholder value beyond anyone that's selling widgets per se. Why? Because the entrepreneur and the purpose behind what's driving the ultimate long-term shareholder return. An entrepreneur that's driven by social impact is never going to give up. Ask Mark, right? Ask Mark. Like during COVID, we were done, right? And I brought Lucid members up to a Zoom meeting, and I said, "How did you find Lucid?" And Lucid's free, and we will keep Lucid free forever. The community who's struggling. She said, "Well, I overdosed. I woke up in a hospital bed, and I said, I need help. And now I'm sober 6 months." And I said, "All right, we will never charge you a penny." And so it's a beautiful conversation that Mark's able to bring in the family offices, because there are people like, listen, we're talking about money, bro. Okay, take this conversation somewhere else. But this is the conversation. Because what is social impact? It's a for-business company that just wants to make a difference. That doesn't mean that we can't return on shareholder value. Now, here's the thing that's very important. So venture will look at Lucid, and we have maybe 500,000 sessions per month now, and they'll say, spam the Lucid feed, we can make a bunch of money. It's a $42 billion market, non-alcoholic beverage sector, $1,254 billion, we can make a ton of money, right? But at the integrity of our community, at the Lucid community, why would we do that? Family offices have the ability not to have to report to their LPs, and their LPs want their money back, and their portfolio companies suddenly, dividend recalls and all this craziness. Family offices are family that have offices that have the ability to really make a difference. And venture really, it has challenges in that regard right now. With the exception of a sector that's called social impact venture, like Tin Shed and tons of other companies that are doing the right thing, and it's called social impact venture, where they look to make a difference and they look to get a shareholder return at the same time.
But we often find that multi-generational.
Soon I'd like to get questions going from the crowd.
Well, I think so. We often find that multi-generational families have a purpose, right? And that's why one of the reasons their values and their purpose is it's allowed them to continue going forward. Rich, start getting questions. You guys, in this, you talked about the venture, the impact venture world. We talked a little bit about it before the session. Is there anything you guys want to add regarding partnerships and how you see that as a new player in the arena?
I love the discussion so far on social impact. Save the Children is in that space. More nonprofits are looking at that space, and you're right that like for Save the Children, we have 3 funds. One of them, like without the support, there are things that wouldn't necessarily be funded, but the possibilities of what we're able to bring together are, in my opinion, very important for society, very important for those regions, those areas, and it allows for it just allows for possibility. So it's really important.
There's one thing you're doing. I understand. You, Northwell, and 2 others, you also collaborated to make investments into companies, like creation of like a funding vehicle. I can't remember the details. You want to speak to that? Because that's a new model where philanthropic dollars could be channeled.
Yeah, I can say really quickly an example is there's a company called ThinkMD. It's an AI tool. It actually is put on the front line. So think about emergencies where you are losing health providers, right? And we need to build in different tools in order to help people who are coming to refugee camps, who are in emergency situations, who need to make sure that they get, quick time frame around actual treatment. So this is a tool that we put in the hands of frontliners in that space. Our focus is we are investing in things that help with impact for children. So if we look at the companies that we're investing in, that's the theme. And we're the only nonprofit organization right now that states that.
I think it's important, and now people are starting to understand that non-for-profit doesn't mean non-cash flow positive, right? And I think being a big player with the endowments and then the biggest transition of wealth, there is a big opportunity for investors to be there and channel their purpose, right? And we see it with Bill Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so on and so forth. We see multiple examples of it. So, any questions, you guys?
So I know that AARP actually holds kind of like a monthly Shark Tank event, and you can go online and apply. And they pick, I think, 4 companies to pitch. How do you go about picking the companies? And again, so just Blue that has the the picking of how you identify the targets that you're doing. I happen to have somebody that I know that works at AARP, and they have an online platform, and you can go and load your pitch deck and stuff like that. Every month they pick 4 new companies to look at. How do you go about that?
Well, we should talk about that.
Yeah, I'll say quickly, we have a team of, I think, 12 plus an advisory group that specifically looks at investments.
Stephen?
James, this is for you specifically. So I walked out for a second, but I understand. So you invest in art, and that goes under, so I have been for years as well, and it fits under the collectibles, kind of that sector. Do you also look at anything else under the collectibles, like cars, airplanes, sports cards, all that kind of stuff? Because I invest in that stuff and like it. Just was wondering. I didn't get it here.
We'll create a breakout room for you guys.
Yeah, we could have a longer conversation on it. It's fine art is the focus, but the more people I meet in industries like other collectibles, sports cars, wine, even how careers are built in other entertainment, from writing to music to movies, it's more or less the same industry, and the same rules apply. So if you understand one well, you can navigate the other.
Any last questions? Yep. Yes. All right, 2 more.
Sorry, a longer run. I wanted to ask about the next gen, to be honest, because, different generation, different attitude, probably more purpose-driven. What's your experience and how you see next gen collaborations that you have in your work are different from what we are used to have?
Well, for one, something that's really fascinating is, like Lucid, we've partnered now with 32 wellness and mental health brands over the last several months. So we've brought anyone in Better Help's our mental health partner, Happier Meditation, Brain Tap, as you talk about NextGen, Brain Tap, the top brain fitness app in the world. The next generation, right, it seems to be that they're going to be as addicted or more or dying or more than this generation, and we're going to need a solution. So we're bringing all hands on deck, not just Lucid, but incorporating all the other companies that are doing great things to look to the next generation. I will say, inclusion is not a political issue. Okay, if you have sober people and there's alcohol bars all over the place, and we don't have non-alcoholic beverage options, it's a problem. So the next generation is just going to have more of a challenging situation, and so the more we can normalize sobriety, the more that we could stop shaming people and perpetuate stigmas of addiction, which are killing tens of millions of people every year, the better we're going to set up the next generation for any level of success.
I mean, I can just add to that quickly that it just feels now there's so much information, so much access, so many opportunities that were not available to the previous generation. But with all that knowledge, knowledge is not synonymous with wisdom. So I find myself in making any type of decision actually leaning back on my father, on my mentors, and to see what they would do, because I think that it's that wisdom that's going to help me to preserve what we have and to grow it and to build it and to have an impact.
I just want to add one thing too, is on the nonprofit side, it's important that we show up showing our work, because we hear that. So it's really making sure that you hear what is your gift accomplishing, and also sort of what we're trying to the larger picture of what we're trying to accomplish, and making sure that there are voices at the table. So we see on the nonprofit side that those next gen leaders also want to engage differently. So they want to be more digital, and that requires us to pay attention to that space. There's also gamifying, that's important. If we aren't in those spaces, then we can't have a conversation. All those type of things.
So I just want to say, this is not a question, it's just a thank you for bringing your all to this panel and to this event, and like such an amazing display of authenticity. So I'm just so grateful. I'm not allowed to find any more art. I run out of wall space. I still want to talk.
Maybe that's the note that if we're over on time. I just asked my friend Andrew if we have non-alcoholic.
Water.
There should be waters and sodas at least, and I'll be more mindful of that. But we want to just take a break. You might take any beverage you want, and we're going to move into industry, smaller, more intimate roundtables by several industries. I'll create a little map in the next few minutes of which table, which industries. So if it's industrials and energy, if it's healthcare, if it's real estate, if it's where's Mo Cohen? Because he wants to meet you and talk about digital assets, and then AI. Of course, that'll probably end up being the larger. So stay tuned. Go get your beverage of choice. Thank you, everybody.
Come join our 361 firm community of investors and thought leaders. We have a lot of events created by the community as we collaborate on investments and philanthropic interests. Join us.